All right, so I'm in on Bumble puts. I'm going to be scaling into these. All right, Bumble's starting to go against me here. If we get a new high, I'm going to have to play it safe. Let's see how it reacts. All right, the max risk on Bumble is going to be 20, 22.20. I'm not going to be risking a lot on this. Velo is printing. Velo is printing right now. 35% on Velo. See, this is what you need, man. You need the big percentage wins and the small percentage losses. So let's see how Bumble reacts. All right, if we start breaking out here, I'm gonna have to cut this. Let's see. All right, so 22.5, 22.55 is gonna be the absolute most. 22.55. All right, guys, I'm all out of Bumble here for a 15% loss on that. Okay, so let's see. So Bumble just hit 23.93. So yeah, there is a gap that just filled on Bumble at 23.74. Now is like Bumble. If you were to do a put option on Bumble, the risk would be the high. And if you get stopped out, then you would just go with the best level right here at 25.46. It's like, if it's not going to work here, if it's not going to work here, then it basically has to work right here. So as long as you're sizing accordingly, you can afford to lose. Like put in like, $500 into contracts right here, take like a 10% loss, put in another 500 or scale it to like 750, take a 15% loss, and then put in like 1,000 or 1,500 on the third one, and then it hits and you make 30% plus and you make back the losses. Like as long as you're sizing accordingly, the win rate doesn't even matter. Past 10 days, right? So we have 3 gaps to fill above within the past 10 days. I went with the lowest one, which was like the most oversold one, basically the worst possible gap I could have tried shorting, right? Obviously the best one would be the highest one. That's the key resistance. And then you can attempt the middle. So it just goes to show you, if you're not trading at the best prices, the strategy is it's going to be very tough. It really is. So the main mistakes was chasing a Tesla put. The main problem was I went with the most oversold lowest gap. When you're shorting, when you're buying put options on a gap close reversal, you want to go with the higher gaps. You want to go with the most overbought ones. Like if there's 3 gaps to fill above within the past 10 days, that's a very short-term time frame. Within just 10 days, 3 gap downs. Like if this is ripping up, you'd want to go with the higher one. That's the best thing you can do. You could try the middle, but you want to go with the higher one. And it's just understanding, like, the thing is, like, if you understand like position sizing, you don't even, like, you can be wrong here, get stopped out at 15%, be wrong here, get stopped out at 15%, be right here, make 30% on a slightly bigger size, make it all back and more. Like, you don't even have to be right. But at the end of the day, you really want to get the sizing down and the risk management down. But you want to aim for the best levels. The best level on Bumble was 25.46. A level of consideration was 23.74. I went with the worst level possible. So that was the main thing on that one. Let's take a look at the 5-minute before I get in. All right, I'm going to pull the trigger on this. All right, so I'm in on the Bumble puts. All right, so the key for Bumble here is we got to stay below 23.50. If we could stay below 23.50, we should be able to start to become at the money on these puts. The strike is 22.5, so right now they're out of the money. But that's the key for Bumble right here. We are attempting to see a little breakdown here. Let's okay, so there's the drop on Bumble. All right, so we're attempting to see a lower high here on Bumble, which is good. It's too early to say, but that's a good reaction. If it can stay under that 23.10. I mean, in terms of the 5-minute, we have a dark blue triggered on the 5-minute, which is bearish in terms of the, squeeze indicator. When this triggers dark blue at key resistance, when a stock fills the gap, it does tend to continue to sell off. So I'm liking that confirmation that we're getting on the 5-minute. The 5-minute chart doesn't look that bullish as well. I don't think we're going to have a problem getting these to at the money, which would be 22.5. If it drops to 22.5, the contracts should be up about 15 to 18%. But yeah, the biggest issue I'm seeing with puts is SPY is trying to turn the previous closing price into support like it tried right here. This is now the second attempt on the day. This is a micro bullish reaction. It has to go above here though. But yeah, my max risk is going to be the highs on this Bumble trade. I mean, if we could just take out 2280, things can get very ugly for this stock, in my opinion. The key level we really got to take out, we'll call it 2266. If we could take that out, the next overall support level is at 2130. So I think if 2260 can crack, the puts can print very nicely on these. All right, so we're starting to see a new lower high come in on Bumble here. We're beginning to look very, very bearish. So it does look like we're starting to see that backside of the move that I'm looking for on this. But yeah, it looks like Bumble is detached from the SPY, which is good. I'd prefer it to be that way. And it looks like we're starting to see some new lower highs here form. So guys, I really like this setup. My confidence is continuing to go up as the lower highs are continuing to form. I think it's going to be a good one. I genuinely believe this will be a good one. So I did take a decent size on it. But yeah, the key is we need to crack this 2266 and turn that into resistance. That's the key. So basically what I'm looking at is, let's take a look at the 5-minute chart. Yeah, see, it keeps trying to hold that level. So what I'm thinking is, if we crack and turn 2266 into resistance, then we're due for a pullback to the next support, which would be the consolidation in the wicks, which is all the way down below at 2131. But yeah, it looks like we're starting to see the backside of the move on this Bumble. The main goal from here is just to turn 2266 into a resistance level. The puts are going to start to print. These should be up about 18% here soon. It should start to go up here once it starts stabilizing. So let's just wait for it to rest a little bit, and then the puts should start to go up. So my strike is 22.5. We went from out of the money to now in the money. So yeah, the goal from here is just to turn 2266 into a resistance level. If we can do that, we should be able to continue to drop. We just turned that key support level into resistance. So when you see a strong support level right here, this is a strong support level with nice new high of day upside potential. When that cracks and it pops back up and turns it into resistance, the new lower high, that's when you gain confidence to continue to hold, because that's the bearish reaction. And your next support is, in terms of overall trend direction, our next overall support is towards the bottom of this wick, which is at 2123. So we still have $1 of downside left. I personally think it can go lower, but I will be playing it safe and taking off the vast majority of my profits at that key level. Time I'm maximizing. There was a gap to fill on Bumble right here. It was the lowest one. It was the worst level to trade it at. I decided to trade it, got stopped out at 15%. Then I went with the middle one, which was a much better level, but still not the best. The best level was right here towards 25.46. I went with the middle one. It's just, it makes sense. It's such an overreaction. 1762 to $24 in a day on Bumble. Like, are you kidding me, right? So I had to do it. I had to get back in. So I wait for the gap to fill. Once the gap fills, I wait for the stock to go from green to red. So right here, the stock goes green. If you look at the 5-minute chart, it instantly rejects, right? It starts to go red in terms of 1-minute confirmations. So I'm going to draw some ovals. These ovals are going to help you in terms of like what confirmations should I be buying puts into. So right here's where it filled the gap. As soon as it filled the gap, it started to pull back. It ripped back up for a new high, instantly faked out. In terms of like confirmations, lower highs right here. This would be some confirmations to get in. It's forming lower highs. It's trying to turn that previous support here into resistance, which is bearish. Those are some confirmations. Right here, it's attempting to break out, but it never hit new highs. So there was no reason to get out. Stocks double top all the time. Stocks fake out at all the time. You know, sometimes they don't crash right away. Sometimes they chop around. They trade sideways. Sometimes they have a quick move up, a quick new high, a quick rip above the previous closing price. Then they sell off. It happens. That's why you want to focus on getting the best entries. In terms of more confirmations to be adding. So all these ovals I'm drawing are reasons to buy puts. So in terms of more confirmations to be adding, more lower highs, double tops at the highs, more lower highs are forming, more lower highs are forming. It cracks the key support right here, confirmation to add. It sells off, forms a red candle, starts to break down, more confirmation to be adding. So all those ovals are entries to be sizing into puts. And like I said, the key from here is we need to turn 2260 into resistance. That's the major key, man. We need to turn this 2260 into a resistance level. So we do have a bearish wick coming in on Bumble, which is good. That's what we want to see. Really got to stay under this 2160-ish level. It's attempting to break down, but it's also attempting to bounce. So we'll see. All right, so guys, we're starting to get a nice breakdown on Bumble. So when you see this again, this should give you more confidence to continue to hold. So far so good on this position. The next overall support level is towards this 2130s. That's where the true next overall support is. It's just one thing I do want to point out. I don't think it's going to be like rock solid support. You can say there's a little support right here, which is going to be 2206. So the goal from here is to turn 2206 into a resistance level. That is going to be challenging. But that's the new goal. Since we cracked it, that's the new goal. So we want to see 2206 turn into resistance. It's going to be tough to do it right away. So what we'll do is we'll raise it a little bit. We'll raise it to like 2220. Okay, so we want to see this zone. We need resistance to form. 2220 to 2206. We need resistance to start forming within that. Very nice rejection here, guys. We just saw, wow, very nice rejection coming in here on Bumble. All right, so yeah, guys, we're really starting to see some negative reactions here, some rejections at that key resistance levels that we needed to see, which was 2206 to 2220. So now we just got to crack this 2170. If we can crack 2170, we're looking at a nice little rug pull to 2130, right around 2130s. All right, so guys, we just saw a very nice little micro bounce here at 2153. The overall target for me was 2130, plus we have a bullish doji here. So if we start to pop back up, I'm just gonna get out and play it safe. I still think it can go in our favor. It's just you know, for me, this is you know, fairly good. Like I'm very comfortable with this of just locking in profits here soon. So we'll see. All right, so we got to take out this 2153. We got to start cracking this support level here. Let's see if we can take this out. Okay, so we just cracked it. Let's see if we can get a little rug pull. The next support is at 2123. Nice little breakdown. Gosh, man, if you just look at this chart, there's just so much downside potential. It's like if 2110 cracks, it just falls off a cliff. It really does. If 2110 cracks, I'm not going to be playing for that much. All right, guys, I'm completely out of Bumble. I still feel like it can go lower. My target has nearly reached. That's what I was aiming for, and the target hit. So I'm playing it safe. I'm locking in my profits. That was an average of a 40% win on that. In terms of my Bumble loss was 15%, and I sized in bigger on my second Bumble trade because it was a better setup. It was at a better price. So why not take the same size or take a bigger size? So yeah, that was Bumble, man. It just goes to show you, I'm telling you, if you size accordingly, the win rate does not matter. And there is different trading strategies if you have a big account versus if you have a smaller account. You know, there's three gaps to fill. There's a gap to fill at 25.46. There's a gap to fill at 23.74. There's a gap to fill at 21.91, right? So we're trying to use the gap close reversal strategy where it fills the gap. We wait for it to go back red. We wait for the back side of the move, the lower highs to form, the bearish candlesticks to form, right? And then we start to play and take advantage of the gap to fill below, right? So it's a gap close reversal to fill the gap below. So I started off going with the worst level possible. You know, within the past 3 days, this gap down 3 times. The worst level possible is the lowest gap, is the lower support level, which was at 21.91. I tried it. I got stopped out for 15%. I cut my losses very, very quickly. If I didn't cut my losses quickly, those puts would have been down at least 50%. So I cut my losses very, very quickly. Then Bumble approached the middle gap, which is the second best level. The best level you could get in on is the highest one, which is at 25.46, right? So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, you know, why not try it? It's due for some sort of pullback. It looks just like Roblox, and Roblox was an amazing trade that I sold too soon. The chart pattern is identical to it. It's having an overreaction where it went from 1762 to now fill this second gap at 2374. So I'm telling myself, you know, I could try to aim for the best entry at $25.46. I can try that, or I can just get in, try it. It's not the best thing to do, but I can give it a shot, and I could size in accordingly where if I lose another 15-20% and get stopped out, I'll hit it right here and make it all back on the third time. I could literally be profitable with a 33% win rate the way I have my position sizing set up in this portfolio. So I told myself, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. It's not 100% the best thing to do because it's not the highest gap. But at the end of the day, it's like it's Bumble. Like this, it's not going anywhere. It was just 1762 from 24. I mean, that's big of enough move for me to give it an attempt. So once it closed this middle gap, I was waiting for the backside confirmations. In terms of backside confirmations, I sent out the alert, which was at let's see, so 10:37 a.m. and then I added at 11:07 a.m. and then I added more at 11:12. So I sized in fairly decently on this one. So in terms of like the alerts and entries, you know, once this went from, you know, green to red, form resistance, form lower highs, see how the highs of these candles are at this previous support. They're no longer towards the high of day. And then the double top never had the new high of day breakout. New lower highs formed. It's now a double top, which is very bearish. You got a double top with the new lower highs. And then, like I said, once it cracks this 2260 support level, there's really no support till 2130. So that's a big drop. Of course, along the way, it's going to have some little micro bounces, but as long as those micro bounces are turning the highs into the previous support, which it was doing, it was turning previous support into the new lower high, into the new resistance level, which is bearish. It's just going to continue to sell off. So that was the play. That was the play of the day for Bumble.